looking for ways to make money, and the easy way in 8th grade to make money is to sell weed to all the kids that don't have access to it. I mean, everyone's starting to experiment. I had a lot of friends that were older, so I had access to that, and it was kind of the easy way to make money. And like really, that even over the fighting, I feel like that was what really, really did me in, because I was allowed to come back to school second semester. And I ended up actually getting caught selling drugs in school. And so I was expelled for a second time. And from there, not only was I expelled, but then, that was a violation of my probation. So then I was arrested, and then I failed a drug test. So then that was like a secondary violation. So I had like 3 violations just for that. And I ended up going to juvenile detention for about 2 months. And then once I got out, I was on house arrest for another 6. So I had a bracelet on my ankle. I couldn't leave the house for 6 months.
What
Only time I could.
What was Juvie like? Like, I mean, I know, like I've heard, like obviously everybody knows what it is, but it's not jail. But like, you have to go live somewhere, right?
No, so I mean, it's literally jail. Like you're in a jail
Oh,
cell, single bed. It's jail. I mean, it's a jail for kids. Yeah. So I mean, there's COs in there, so there's actually guards. You're
and like, is it at the actual like normal prison?
no. So it's a
Okay,
juvenile detention center.
but
But it looks
similar.
exactly like a jail. Like, I mean, we're talking brick walls, steel bars, like you're in a jail cell.
Okay, okay.
And so like typical day was, getting up at like 5, 6 a.m. We had like a cleaning schedule. So we had to come out and like clean all the common areas, bathrooms, things like that. We had like rec time. So a couple times a day, we'd be able to go play like basketball, dodgeball, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The food there was like school cafeteria food. I mean, it was like
Mm-hmm.
boxed milk and juice, and the food wasn't terrible. The overall experience, I mean, when you picture prison, you picture, like gang fights,
Yeah.
and like, you have to choose
At
a
least
side
the
and like
movies show it
get,
that way.
yeah, get protection. And I'm sure, like, I haven't been to adult prison, luckily. I'm sure that's probably the way it is. But for juvenile detention, like a lot of the kids, honestly, were really, really cool. It was a lot of really misguided kids that had just kind of gone on the wrong path. And, I met a lot of kids in there that I think about, even to this day, like, I wonder like what happened to them and things like that kind of had a pretty big impact. So, it was pretty sad. I think that especially when you're that age, like, listen, I mean, I own up to my mistakes. I know that what I did was my own fault and everything else, but a lot of these kids, they were kind of just a product of their environment. Like I had I didn't have an excuse. I feel like a lot of them did. And I think that was what my biggest takeaway from all of it was, because at the end of the day, like the whole experience for me was, it was like a daycare. I mean, it really was. I mean, obviously, like I couldn't see friends or family. It being on that schedule and just being surrounded, by steel bars and concrete walls, like isn't a fantastic experience. But it did give me a lot of time to reflect. And so, it was the same routine every single day. I had a lot of time by myself. You're in a single room by yourself, so you don't have like a roommate or a bunkmate or whatever. And so like I just had a lot of time to think about like, how did I get here? Because I'm looking at all these other kids and hearing their stories about, what they got in trouble for, like where they came from, things like that. And I'm like, I don't belong here. And not in the sense that they do, but like I had effectively just dug myself this huge hole for no reason. I mean, I had a really caring family. I had, even though my parents were split up and my mom did have full custody, like both of my parents we had a good relationship at that point. There wasn't a whole lot to complain about. I had really just kind of dug myself this hole. And so, I had a couple months to really think about like how I had gotten to that point and how I was planning on getting myself out of that. And so I think that was like one of the most impactful periods of my life, because when I came out of that, I mean, I had completely changed the way that like I thought about everything, the way I thought about school, the way I thought about my future, the way I thought about family. I was much more appreciative. I had way less of a chip on my shoulder than I did before. I wasn't really like mad at the world anymore. Like I understood like most of the problems that I, thought that the world was imposing on me. I was actually just imposing on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I kind of just realized that like I was my biggest worst enemy. At the end of the day, like I was kind of the reason that all that shit was falling apart, and it was no one else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
And that really taught me a lot about like accountability, and I think kind of shaped who I am today. So like that's one period of my life where like I wouldn't change anything. I don't think I'd be the same person I am today without going through that.